cigarette butts, empty sport drink bottles, fast food wrappers, typical litter marring our downtown sidewalks, evidence of thoughtless or desperate human activity. The occasional sock, believe it or not, used lottery tickets, scraps of paper, pieces of cardboard, ketchup packets oozing their red blood. Once, I found a $20 bill on the corner by the Colorado Trust and worried that it was someone's weekly lunch budget. Accidentally dropped and deeply missed. I think sometimes I will carry a garbage bag wherever I walk. Other times, I am lost in thought and don't even notice. But there was no ignoring the 1x4 board that was across the sidewalk as I walked up 16th Street recently. A trip hazard for sure, but only when I bent down to retrieve it did I notice the writing on it. Love me. Love me. Nothing else. Who had written it? For what purpose? Why had it been dumped? Was it a message for someone? A cry? A plea? A prayer? Friends, we live in a world of extraordinary beauty and timeless order, where patterns and symmetry prevail. Seasons and tides and cycles. Or take, for example, the Fibonacci sequence. The thing I learned from math class, and believe me, it may have been the only thing that stuck. The Fibonacci sequence is a consistent mathematical arrangement which appears throughout nature, in the seeds of pine cones and the spiny skin of pineapples, in sunflowers and in the many-chambered nautilus, in the cochlea of the inner ear, and even in the configuration of human skeletal bones, all testifying to an amazing creative design. The Bible describes creation as the Spirit's powerful movement against chaos to birth a universe of form and substance, light and goodness, purpose and meaning. The more we learn from scientific inquiry, the more we marvel at the wondrous logic of it all, even as we're humbled by what we do not yet understand. The biblical writer, known by the name of John, gave voice to this wonder and mystery in the soaring introduction to his gospel, in which he identifies the essence, the logic of the universe as logos, translated into English as word. But I'm going to use the word logos because we too often think of word as only words. Hear it now in the words of John from chapter 1. In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him, not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life. And the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. Maybe you recognize that text as the one we read every Christmas Eve as we hold candles high aloft in the dark sanctuary. Light we understand symbolically as the divine love that makes us come alive. But there are times when it is more difficult to affirm that truth. In all that glorious order, there is also randomness. As when a devastating hurricane hits landfall one place and misses another. Or within the stunning double helix of DNA, the possibility of genetic defect. Even the basic relationship between matter and energy is described by the Heisenberg theory of uncertainty. And not all stories have a happy ending. I remember trying to comfort a father whose 25-year-old daughter had died from a sudden aneurysm. God didn't have anything to do with this, I said to him. Through tears, he looked at me blankly. If I believed that, then Shannon's death had no meaning at all. It begs the question, is the Logos of the universe kind or cruel? Or, as Woody Allen once described God, a colossal underachiever. Is God capricious or steadfast? How do we know God's way, God's will? The cosmic vision John proclaims suddenly shifts and gets down to earth. The eternal Logos breaks into human history. The Spirit becomes flesh and blood. What? Continuing to read from that first chapter. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. And the Logos became flesh and lived among us. And we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace upon grace. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who has made him known. This is the Logos of God. Thanks be to God. Friends, if we want to see God, then we should look at the life and Logos of Jesus. He put skin on the essence of God, the heart of God, by showing us in terms we can understand. by the way he showed compassion to everyone, from little children to wise old adults to the uppity church leaders. By the way Jesus welcomed losers and winners. By the way Jesus confronted injustice and showed us that we are family. Jesus' way countered the status quo, the conviction that things can't change because that's just the way they are. The notion that what you see is all there is. The Logos of love offers us a powerful alternative by opening our horizon, not limited by present reality. Its logic is creativity and recreation. Love is its agenda. Love is its strategic plan. Love is the being and the doing. Love makes the road that leads to life. And we, you and I, are invited to choose that way, to make the road by walking, to discern the steps by opening our eyes to divine pattern, the world as God sees it, full of beauty and promise and challenge and meaning. So today, I invite our consideration of this quest by committing to intentional spiritual practice over the coming year. During the music that follows the message, I ask us to decide just one thing that you intend to do. It might be joining one of the small groups to explore what it means to walk the road of Christian faith. Maybe it's to read the book on your own and discuss it with others. Maybe it will be to make a point to read our weekly devotional. And if you don't receive it online, please give us your preferred email address so that we can send it to you, which highlights and expands on themes of spiritual formation. And in each devotional, there are suggested scripture readings, a short meditation, and options including embedded videos for youth and families with younger children. Some of us might choose to set aside daily time for prayer. Others might commit to regular worship attendance. Some find the discipline of weekly choir rehearsals and singing and worship as a route into spirit. Perhaps your intention will be expressed through generous financial support to Central's mission and by hands-on service to our neighbors in need. There are many options, but the point is to try something and to commit to practicing it, not once or twice, but regularly. I wonder what would happen if we all did that. I wonder what might change in our church family and in our world, among refugees and immigrants. I wonder if the person who wrote "Love Me" on this board in the heart of our city would come to know that he or she is not a discard, something to throw in the trash, but is loved dearly, redemptively, and eternally. When you become aware of your personal commitment, would you please write it on our board over there, the yellow yellow road and sign your name. Just with a brief, there are some pens there, and just in a brief description and then your name. In that way, the road begins to take shape. The pattern emerges and the next step becomes clear. We know that we are not alone. The logos of divine love sparks and sustains our human love. And frankly, reduces our skepticism that we can actually do it. Suddenly, or little by little, we discover the joy of practicing. And we will be on the way. And now I invite us to consider our commitment. You can do that in a couple of ways. If silence helps you hear better, then I invite you at your place to just converse with your own spirit and think about the commitment you might make. Or share with those around you the challenge and the reward of living by the logos of love. And if there are children at your table, please encourage their participation as well, because making this commitment is something every one of us is invited to do.